In this video, we're going to talk about depression, we're going to destroy your self-limiting belief, and we're going to establish why depression, in my opinion, is not something that you will live with for the rest of your life and just have to rely on medication to fix, but rather a signal from your body telling you that something is wrong and you probably shouldn't ignore it. Okay, so for years, depression has been labelled as a result of a faulty brain, in that we are not getting enough of the happy chemical in our brains, which then results in low mood and feeling very fucking sad. And I don't like this way of thinking because it basically says that there's nothing you can do about it. You're born with a faulty brain, take this pill for the rest of your life, and that will stop you feeling terrible. The problem is, it doesn't just stop you feeling terrible, it also stops you feeling happy, stops you feeling any kind of joy. It reduces sexual function, it can have massive side effects. Like these tablets and these pills, what we are telling people to take, they don't cure the problem. And research has recently come out as late of July 2022, which says that depression isn't caused by a faulty brain. Depression isn't caused by low serotonin. It isn't caused by a faulty brain at all. And I also don't believe that around 300 to 500 million people around the world have suddenly been born with a faulty brain. Now, of course, the counter argument to this could be, well, more people are now just aware of it. More people are now talking about depression, talking about mental health. Okay, well, why is the rates of depression still going up then? So if more people are talking about depression, more people are talking about their mental health, which I believe is a good thing, I feel that's only one part of the equation. The other part of the equation when it comes to depression, feeling better in yourself and actually enjoying life and not being medicalised for the rest of your life, is the second part. So the first part, I think, is awareness. People need to talk about their problems. Only if they want to. You can't force people, but I would encourage people to speak about their problems. But then there is a second important part of this equation, which is accountability. Are you saying that depression is my fault? I'm not saying depression or poor mental health is your fault whatsoever, but there is a difference between blame and responsibility. We can blame the world, we can blame our childhood, we can blame our circumstances, we can blame all these other things as to why we feel down, why we feel sad. But responsibility for change still lies within us. You can have a poor set of circumstances, you can have childhood trauma, you can have a really bad work-life balance, you can have issues with money, you can have all these other things which you can blame, say cause your depression, but the blame just pushes the responsibility outwards. Blaming things is fun. It isn't my fault, it's that thing over there. It exonerates us from feeling upset, from feeling depressed, and basically says it's not our fault. Now there's a difference between saying, is this our fault? No. But do we have the power to do something about it? Yes. Because our physical health is our responsibility. If you sit there all day eating fast food, not exercising, not getting outside, not speaking to people, this is going to affect your physical health. So why is our mental health any different? Why is our mental health the responsibility of a broken brain or to society? No, it's not. It is our responsibility. Depression and poor mental health, it is your responsibility to look after yourself, and it's to do with the locus of control. So we have two options here. Either none of it is in our control and therefore we have a broken brain and this is just the way we are for the rest of our lives, and we're going to take these tablets and these pills and this is just going to be who we are. Never really experience any kind of real joy in life, but believing that there's nothing we can do about it. Or this one over here, which says, okay, it may not be my fault why I feel this way, but it's certainly my responsibility to do something about it. One is easy and tells the world that it's their fault and doesn't give you any responsibility to change it. The other one says, okay, this might not be my fault, but it's certainly my responsibility to change it. One gives you power, one keeps you stuck. And that's the important part, what I want you to take from this video. Okay, am I saying that you should now throw away all your antidepressant pills? No, because unfortunately they're very difficult to get off because of the massive withdrawal symptoms what you will suffer as a result of it. So we need to, if you do want to get off your pills, we need to do it gradually and we need to do it under medical supervision. Well, if I'm taking antidepressant medication to fix the serotonin levels in my brain, won't that then cause my depression to go worse? Well, no, because depression is not caused by a broken brain. So what do we need to do instead? We have to take accountability over our happiness in our lives. So what I suggest people do when they join the Reclaim Life community, link in the description of this video, is they do an audit. And what they do is they do a brutally honest audit of their life and their circumstances. Rather than just taking medication and hoping that fixes everything and not changing anything about your circumstances whatsoever, you are then just treating the symptom rather than the cause. This treats the cause. So we want to look at our work, we want to look at our health, we want to look at our relationships, we want to look at our family dynamics, and of course we want to address any kind of trauma. So let's go with trauma first. You might need professional help with this. If you imagine trauma is like a briefcase, it's like a suitcase you carry around, then the more you go through life, the heavier that suitcase might get. So you need to speak to somebody who is a professional and see how you can offload that. Also, when it comes to trauma, exercise can unstick trauma. There's evidence which is coming out recently that high intensity, heavy exercise can unlodge trauma, can dislodge trauma. If you imagine trauma is like a sticky substance sticking to your nervous system, because trauma sticks to the body and it changes the brain and it changes the neuroplasticity and hormones and unconscious triggers, etc. So if you imagine these green dots here are trauma, if you do heavy exercise, it can literally unstick that trauma. This is why I say to people in the Reclaim Life that if they've had a really difficult day, go for a walk or go for a workout or do something physical, because it will unstick the trauma. And the more that you keep that trauma there, the tougher it is to take away. So if you do suffer something hard or something awful, you want to try and unstick that trauma as quick as possible, because the longer you leave it, the more stuck that will get, if you get me. Family and relationships, if you are in a bad relationship, that is going to cause you serious mental problems. It's going to cause you serious mood issues. Take it from someone who's been in bad relationships, who's been in controlling relationships. Everything you're doing, you're second guessing. Your mental bandwidth is so shortened and your nervous system is constantly on guard. You are constantly in fight or flight and your nervous system is constantly alert. Now, this is not good. And again, this will add to trauma too. So relationships, you need to make sure you're in a healthy, stable relationship. And if you're not, you need to look at whether it's safe, as long as it's safe to do so, leaving that relationship. A relationship shouldn't be difficult. People say relationships are hard. They're really not. If you're in a good relationship, relationships aren't particularly hard. Of course, you need to make certain effort here and you need to do certain things to keep that relationship going, but day to day, it shouldn't be a battle. You shouldn't have to battle or play games or have arguments over silly things and try and win tit for tat little arguments each day. Like, that's not what a relationship should be. A relationship shouldn't be hard in the sense of it's a constant battle, like it's a war with the other person frequently. It should be everything's fine day to day, and you just need to do a bit of work here or there to keep that relationship going and make sure everything's okay. So relationships, and if you're in a bad relationship, then no wonder your mental health is doing really, really badly. Or if you've been in past relationships which have been really bad, that has acute trauma and you haven't dealt with the trauma. So again, it's that sticky substance. If you've been in bad relationships, abusive relationships, volatile relationships, we then will need to do some work on ourselves, either through professionals' help or through self-help and doing it ourselves, in order to then unstick that trauma and reduce the impact it has on our mental health. The next thing is health, okay? So if you are overweight, if you are not going outside, if you have not been for a walk in a long time, if you don't see the sun, if you don't get that vitamin D, if you don't live the way that your body was supposed to live, you're not moving, you're filling your body with shit, you're not eating whole food, you're not eating proper food, you're not sleeping properly, this will all have a massive impact on your mental health. And it's funny because I obviously worked in the police and I dealt with a lot of people who were very mentally ill. They had severe depression, severe anxiety. And then when you actually analyse their life a little bit through speaking to them, they always said, well, I don't go outside, I don't have a good relationship with my family, I hate my work, I don't sleep very much, I live off caffeine, it's not good for you. And these are all compounding effects which will then cause depression. These will cause mental health problems. Then we have work. So many people suffer depression as a result of their work, be it through stress or even because they're doing a job which they no longer enjoy. They're doing a job which they feel trapped in. They're doing a job which doesn't seem to give them any kind of purpose or meaning. So we have to find meaningful work. And I've got other videos on when it comes to leaving jobs and leaving careers which are no longer serving you. But this is essentially it. We need to find an employment which we feel good doing and that values us. If you imagine hundreds of years ago, because we still have the same brain as we have had for hundreds, if not thousands of years, we would have lived in small tribes. And when we lived in that tribe, we would have had meaningful work. Maybe you would have been somebody who went out hunting, or you gathered berries, or you were building things. You were building things in community. So everybody had a purpose, everyone had a task. So that meant when somebody wasn't there, or somebody fell ill, or somebody died, or somebody left the tribe for whatever reason, that then caused a ripple effect throughout the tribe. So everybody felt valued, everybody had a purpose, everybody had a task. And if you were then absent, everyone would notice. How many people now feel like if they don't turn into work tomorrow, no one will care? Well, then you feel that what you're doing is not valued, and you are not valued, and that your work isn't meaningful. So you have to find meaningful work. Spending 10 hours a day doing a job you don't like to afford things you don't need, that's not going to be good for anybody. Certainly if the end result of that, the work you're doing you don't enjoy, the work you're doing doesn't feel impactful or meaningful, and you don't feel valued. So you have to find meaningful work. Also, we would have been outside a lot. We would have been exercising. You would have been eating proper food. You wouldn't have been glued to fucking phones and computer screens all the time. So your sleep-wake cycle would have been better. So we've gone from meaningful work, meaningful connections with the people around us. We've gone from being outside a lot. We've gone from exercising every day, eating proper food that grows out the ground, or food that you've gone and hunted, and not having access to technology, not having access to the news, not having access to social media, which then doesn't affect our mood, it doesn't affect our stress levels, and it, more important, doesn't affect our sleep. We've gone from that to being overweight, living indoors most of the time, working jobs we don't like, shallow connections with work colleagues, or even with friends and family who we don't see very often, and our sleep-wake cycle is all over the place, and we are surrounded by technology. Is it any wonder why depression and anxiety and mental health problems are going up? Is it any wonder why we're seeing such an increase in these illnesses and in these disorders? So no, I don't believe that it's simply a result of a chemical imbalance. I don't believe it's a result of having a faulty brain. I believe depression and anxiety are an issue of a sick society and a symptom of a sick society and how we now live. If we can diagnose what in our life we can work on, I say do this. I say pick one thing, be that relationships, be it work, be it your body, be it your food, be it your sleep. You pick one and you work for 30 days. After 30 days, if you're still not happy with it, you work it for another 30 days. You improve for another 30 days. Whether that's a diet, whether that's looking for a new job, whether that's building a business yourself, whether that's trying to see your friends and family more, whether that's more exercise, you pick one thing which you're not happy about and you work on it for 30 days. Concentrated effort for a concentrated amount of time, and then you reevaluate from there. If you are happy with the result after 30 days, you then go and do another one. And eventually, over the space of a year, you will massively increase your relationships, your social life, your health, your diet, your work prospects, your physical health, everything will improve. And as a result of doing all this, your mental health will then improve too. So we have two choices here. We can either pick the easy option. I have a broken brain, there's nothing I can do about it. My circumstances are the way they are, and this is the reason why I'm depressed, because my brain is faulty. Or we have the hard option, which requires action, it requires evaluation, it requires some tough conversations and tough decisions, but it will mean that there is a positive outcome at the end. So inaction, easy, bad outcome. Action, difficult, good outcome. You decide which one you want to do. And if you need some support, join the Reclaim Life Project now. Link in the description of this video, where we talk about this and much, much more. And we have resources when it comes to your life audit, your career audit, etc. And moving forward and stopping believing that the reason why you feel like shit all the time is due to something out of your control, and instead take accountability, start making changes today. But the most important thing I wanted to say about this is you are not broken, you are not a bad person. You've just been sold a lie which is easy and convenient and comforting. But unfortunately, that lie is keeping you stuck. Action, which is difficult, will help move you forward. I'll see you in the next video.